Hey guys, it's the Loud Guys. Today we are going to watch What If Every US State Became Independent. And this is a video that I think so many of US enemies will watch. They'll be like, oh, what if this happens? We have to break them or this and that. But the thing is, like, we saw that, like, how US formed. US formed by all the states coming together, joining hands, and then they try to calibrate more and more states in, and that's how the whole US came into formation. We saw those kind of videos. But now it is about because each of these states are very very strong. Like there are some states that are very very powerful, like the California state or the Texas state. We have seen like how much oil or how much wheat and everything they produce, and they are so important and big states, so they can become a different country altogether. But of course nobody would want that maximum like Americans. But I have seen some of the hair clips and here and there where I have seen people demanding that okay, we should separate, and what if there is another war like the that happened, a civil war kind of a thing. So let's see what is there in this video.
And I do think that if every state of the America would become independent, then obviously then America wouldn't be that much powerful, because I do believe that unity is strength. So that could be the reason. And yeah, I'm so much excited to watch this video, because as I'm watching, as I'm knowing more and more about the United States, I'm like that I want to know more and more about it, because America is the most powerful country, and it's not only the powerful country. It's like that India and US also has a a very good bond between us. So yeah, you should have a knowledge about your country's friends country. So yeah, that's the reason I'm so much excited to know this video. And previously we saw the video where we got to know a lot of things of the America. So I hope this video also going to be very informative, and we got to know a lot of things of the America. So yeah, let's watch the video.
And also the thing is like India also has to 28 to 30 states. So the thing is like in India also like takes care of all the states, because like many states are very different to each other. But yeah, we stay together and stay united. Similarly, it is in America. So let's see what is there in this video.
So let's take a look at what would be the reality if each US state became independent and its own country. Now, we're going to assume that this would be viable. Forget the issues of military amongst other obstacles
Yeah.
that would effectively make this impossible to ever happen. We're also not going to take into account the fact that the US dissolving itself would not necessarily mean 50 new countries. Some others might unite into smaller unions. Some could
Yes.
join neighboring countries like Canada or Mexico, but not for the sake of this video. What I'm going to be doing is
Each
just
and every one
looking
separate.
at the data of states and project how they would do as a country when compared to each other and the rest of the
Nice.
world. First, population. California comes at the top with 39 million, surpassing current countries like Poland or Canada, around the 33rd most populous country in the world.
Oh wow.
Texas is second with 28 million, Florida with 20, New York with 19, and Pennsylvania with 12. At the bottom of the population chart, we would have Alaska with 740,000, Vermont with 620, and Wyoming with 580,000.
Oh, why
with
so less people in
population than
Wyoming?
countries like Cyprus, Comoros, or Bhutan. Next,
Bhutan.
size. Alaska would be the biggest country out of the Union, becoming the 18th largest country in the world.
Wow.
Smaller than Libya, but larger than Iran. Texas and California would follow as the second and third largest countries out of the US. At the bottom of this list would be Rhode Island, Delaware, and Connecticut. Delaware is so small that it's about the size of less than 1/5 of Estonia, and Rhode Island is smaller than the French island of Corsica. Also
Oh.
noteworthy that states like New York or Florida, who are prominent in the other rankings we'll see next, aren't that big, occupying the 27th and 22nd places respectively. Florida, for instance, is only a little larger than Portugal, and New
Oh.
York is close to the size of Belarus, showing us that size doesn't necessarily mean
Yes.
more economic power.
Size does not
In
matter.
economic terms, California would be ranking number 1. It's by far the most productive state
Oh,
and
wow.
even self-sufficient in some aspects. And it would become the world's 5th largest economy, only behind
Fifth
China,
largest.
Japan, Germany, and the UK. Texas wouldn't
Greater
be that
than
far
India.
behind though. Also
Wow.
in second place as the world's 10th largest economy between Brazil and Canada. The current economic might of the US is demonstrated by the fact that in an event like this, 4 states would be in the G20. California, Texas, New York, and Florida.
What the
Kicking out
hell?
Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and South Africa, as well as the
US
US.
is so powerful.
This economic reality is demonstrated by the GDP of each state, or each new country in this case. California would be at the top again, with a GDP of $2.7 billion.
Wow.
Texas with $1.7 billion, New York with $1.5, and Florida with $970 million. It seems as if, in the case of independence, these 4 would be at the top of almost all rankings amongst the old states. However, if we look at the GDP in another perspective, the GDP per capita, Massachusetts would have the highest one, ranking number 9 in the world, just behind the United Arab Emirates. The District of Columbia would
I
technically
think the
be
GDP
higher, but
numbers
since
are
it isn't
wrong.
an
He has
official
got
state,
2.10 billion.
I
It
guess
should be
would
trillion.
just be absorbed into Virginia in this scenario. This map is really interesting. It's a bit outdated from 2013, but it shows the equivalent GDP of each state to a current existing country,
Oh, wow.
matching North Dakota with Uzbekistan, New Mexico with Ecuador, Connecticut to Greece, or Alaska to Luxembourg.
All these
But
countries.
values have changed since then, and even these ones are a rough approximation.
Yeah.
The end of the US would also mean that a lot of the states would have to change their state flags,
Yes.
most of which have something to do with the Union. Most state flags are just the state seal, and usually the seal has a lot of elements of the US, like the eagle, the order of admission into the Union, or sometimes the actual US flag. So a change would definitely be in order for those. States like Ohio would probably want something that is more about their own identity. For instance, each state has an official bird, tree, and flower, so
Oh,
these
wow.
can be put into use. On Ohio's case, the buckeye tree or the cardinal bird could be symbols on a new flag. I guess that in this case, states like California, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, New Jersey, or Maryland would have their problem solved having already original flags. In the case of California or Texas, these are even flags that
They already have their
represented
flags?
the territories at a time of independence, so
Shocking.
it would make even more sense to maintain them. Religion would also be an interesting topic. 14 of these new countries would be of Catholic majority. 33 would be Protestant and 3 would be Mormon. Utah and Idaho creating the only 3 countries in the world who have a Mormon majority, along with Tonga, a small Pacific island. It's also interesting to see something else. Given that despite these differences, all states maintain a Christian majority, what would be the second largest religion in each of these new countries? The West Coast, Alaska, Hawaii, and some of the Midwest have Buddhism as their
Buddhism.
second largest religion. The Northeast, Judaism, and a lot of the South and Center states have Islam. Southern states are the most religious, at least in terms of attendance, so we could assume that religion would play a larger role in these future countries. States like Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire are on the opposite end, with lower church attendance and perhaps less importance of religion for the population. Assuming that military issues would not be a problem, and that the military power of the US would simply be divided among states according to the nature of each soldier, Texas would have the largest military.
Wow.
With a total of 292,000
Texas can
troops.
become a country like
California
how
would
powerful
follow
it
with a
is.
total of 247,000. And keep in mind
But yeah,
that
it
this
is
data
because of
isn't
the
really
unity with
certain
USA.
and might be outdated. With this data, Texas would be the 20th strongest military force in the world,
Wow.
above Canada, and California would follow right behind. However, this is just about soldiers. The question would be put of how to divide other military supplies
Yes,
and
the
vehicles,
weapons,
like
warships.
tanks, the US Navy, the Air Force. In my opinion, military unity is what makes a US breakup most unlikely. The fact that they would abdicate being the world's strongest military force, and the
Yes.
mere confusion and mess that it would be dealing with the post-Union military
Unbearable.
force. We can also take a look at some other interesting statistics that show us current differences between states that would transfer
Marijuana
into
is legal.
differences between the new countries. For instance, the legalization of marijuana, legal on all of the West Coast for recreational use, for medical use in a bunch of other states, but illegal in some others. And remember that this is before the 2018 midterm election.
Oh,
In terms of crime rate, should the current stats be maintained, Vermont, Maine, and Minnesota would be the safest of the 50 countries.
safest.
New Mexico, Alaska, Louisiana, and Arkansas would be the top four most dangerous countries.
Alaska?
The states with the
Really?
highest percentage of poor people could likely be in the south, while the ones with the least percentage of people in poverty would be in the northeast. Some
Oh.
countries would have a male population majority, like Hawaii, North Dakota, or Wyoming, and others would have a female majority, like Delaware, Alabama, Mississippi, or
There would
Maryland,
be
amongst
so
many
much
other stats.
change
The thing is,
in
all
the
of these
Mm.
statistics, despite being about specific
Oh,
It will be
states,
a big
are
mess.
connected in the context of the Union. Should the US dissolve,
No.
all of them would probably change because the way the states are is dependent or at least related to their coexistence within the same nation.
Mm.
For instance, California's economic might maybe would be reduced if it instantly saw its neighbors as new countries and not member states of the same union, because new trade agreements would need to be drafted, etc. And new necessities would emerge. For instance, the need of each new country to have their own military, meaning expenses in that respect. Amongst so many other changes that would maybe change the power relation that now exists between states. However, I think we can draw a few conclusions from all this. In the event of every state becoming independent, four of them would instantly become powerful countries in the world.
Yes.
California, Texas, New York, and Florida. They top the most
Others might
significant
come
criteria:
together.
California.
population and economic power. However, others might also be at the top of
other
successful
places
countries which would emerge.
Mm.
Massachusetts has a solid public education and good local government using a somewhat European model in taxes, so they might be able to make it work. Other smaller states might have a more difficult time and lose a lot of their wealth as consequence of the central government not being around anymore. Maybe new unions would emerge, and we can only really try and guess what would happen.
This is one thing that even we Indians could never ever imagine, like US breaking up, even though we can see how each and every state is so powerful, and majorly those powerful states like New York and then Texas and then California. Those are the mighty states. They can easily survive themselves, and they can make sure that they can take in more countries or more states and make a big other country out of it. But that should never happen because everything is interconnected, and that's what he was saying. Like the biggest problem would be how to break up the army, because the army is so big and so powerful, and you would try to divide it, and the moment you try to do that, the enemies will just jump onto you, and they will try to sanction you, and they will try to do whatever they can. So I think so breakup is not even near to being possible. And I have seen some TikTok videos or some Instagram reels where some people talk about it, that okay, we should make Texas another country or this and that. I don't think so. You should ever think of that. It is very beautiful how America is, and they should maintain it, because I think so unity is the strength, as Manchika said. It is very very powerful. So this video was very informative, and we got to know that how powerful each and every state is. Like you can just take it out, and still it would be the largest country, or still it would be the the most powerful country. So that's how big, or that's how strengthful the US is in unity. So how did you guys find the video? Do let us know in the comments also.
Seriously, this video was so much informative, and literally I got to know a lot of things which I didn't know earlier. I got to know that basically California, New York, Texas, Florida, they are the largest states of the basically America. And if if the every state would be independent, so these four states would be will count in the largest countries. And California, we got to know that California will be the will come in the list of the highest economic country. And there were a lot of things we got to know, and we got to know that if this would happen, then only the economy wise there wouldn't come changes, but religiously, crime wise there come a lot of changes. We got to know in northeast there marijuana will be legal, and in other part of the country, in other part the marijuana would be illegal. And we also got to know that some country would be, the smaller states will be, valley will touch poverty. And there were a lot of things which we got to know from the video, that some people will follow another kind of religion and some will follow other, some will be muslims and other will be christians. We also got to know that from this video. So yeah, at the end, this guy said that Americans shouldn't do this, and the conclusion was only the four states would become under in the largest country. Rest of the, America would be, maybe dissolve, especially the smaller state will be dissolved. So yeah, this video was so informative and we got to know a lot of things from this video. And yeah, I really like the whole video.
Yes, and what do you guys think about it? Do let us know in the comment section below. So do like, share, and
Subscribe.
bye.
Bye.